I really enjoyed Frieren. It reminded me of some old anime from the 2010s with its longer episode count, which really helped the overall pacing in the show. If Frieren was, let's say, 12 episodes like a lot of other shows nowadays, then the world building and the character building would be lessened in its overall impact. We get a lot of shows these days where they're like 12 episodes in the first season, and then it takes a year or two for the next season to come out, and it screws up all the pacing. So it is really a treat to get just a full hunk of 28 episodes to just watch. It was kind of overwhelming at first, but they really go along pretty well, and the pacing is very, 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 very good, except a little bit towards the end where the pacing gets a little stretched, but we'll talk about that later. This also happened with Attack on Titan when seasons would take a year or two in between at the end of like a certain hype moment, and it just took so long to get to that end where a lot of people felt kind of out of it when the show actually ended. I remember Sea Dog saying something like that, and I think that does reflect what a decent amount of people were thinking. But when it came to Attack on Titan, I would rewatch the entire show every time a new season would come on. I'd skip the first season because the first season is ass. It's good, but it's ass because the pacing is awful. But every time a new season of Attack on Titan would come out, I'd rewatch everything season 2 onwards up till when the show continued, and then I continue the show. I've rewatched Attack on Titan so many times, but I understand why people feel that. I understand because people would not do the rewatch the show thing like I would do and just go right raw dog into the new season, and it'd kind of feel weird. But Frieren, I very much don't think this is going to happen with the second season. The second season is probably going to come out in the middle of 2025, maybe in fall 2025, and it will flow pretty well. The show likes to flow very well. I think the show is going to flow very well. Car just drove right by. Whatevs. But another thing about Frieren is it's still very early in its run. The show is now the number one anime on Mal, overtaking Full Metal Alchemist. First time ever. Not the first time ever, but it's the first time it's ever just like actually been over Full Metal Alchemist. Now, guys, Frieren was good. Frieren was pretty good. But let's give it like a season 2 and see how it goes. I'm going to read the manga. I'm going to continue on the manga because I think the story is pretty good. I really like the time aspects, but is it better than Full Metal Alchemist? Like, let's just wait on this one, okay? Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is a 64 episode show. There's just so much meat in there. And one thing about Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is that it has probably the greatest pacing in any anime I've ever seen. Seriously, that show is so good in its pacing. I've never heard anyone talk about the pacing in that show, but the pacing is straight gas, as the kids would say. But is this first 28 episodes of Frieren better than like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood? Probably not. It's really good, but it's not like a complete story. Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is a complete story and all that. But I get it. You know, the new kids are out on the street. The new kids are here. So, you know, I would like to wait for a season 2, see how that goes. My favorite aspect of Frieren is how it deals with time, because we're reviewing the world through the eyes of a basically immortal elf. You know, to us immortal. Time is super skewed from her eyes. Time goes by quick. A year to her is like a second. You know, 1,000 years is pretty trivial. But in the show, you know, it's a very simple dichotomy where she has to take care of like some humans, and she learns about humans and she learns about humanity, you know, and that's the true theme of this, is that humans' lives are like a blink of an eye to her. Then now she like finds love and care for one of these for them, right? And that's the central theme, is humanity, learning to understand. That's why the show has resonated with people so heavily compared to a lot of other shows. Sometimes anime has super hype, like hype up to the scale, hype to the top, but there's not really anything that like kind of connects you to it. The show displays both for sure. My only problem with Frieren was some of the final episodes in the final arc, like the last 8 episodes. That's like a whole arc, and like the first like 3 episodes of that 8 episode arc were, it just felt like they were kind of like stretched, and I remember I was getting like slightly fatigued, and then and then it started coming back and rolling pretty well. That's really the only hiccup that the show has from what I'm remembering. So I call that pretty good. I call it a pretty good show so far. But yeah, that tiny little episode episodes where the pacing kind of gets screwed up a little bit, you know, it kind of took me out of it for a second. And in random places in the show, there would just be like some great sakuga. The action was flippin' sick a lot of the times. It would just go so hard, so needlessly hard. There's a lot of shows where it's like a scale, right? It scales so much on like the story side to where sometimes on the action side, if there is action, it's just kind of like, we could forgive it for the action not being like very good. But this show just randomly out of nowhere, just the team working on this is probably so sleep deprived. They're all dying over there, but it's freaking rad. It's like watching Jujutsu Kaisen season 2, the max brain rot season ever of any show. Action, 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 rabbits flying everywhere. Now, the show was good, but I don't think I don't feel like we've seen the best parts of the potential rest of the show of Frieren. I'm gonna see in the manga if I'm right about that, but I feel like this is the type of show to where it like peaks in like season 3 or something, when all this like stuff builds up to an eventual conclusion, kind of like a Storm of Swords. If you've ever read the Song of Ice and Fire series, I feel like it's the kind of like that type of show or that type of story. But we'll see. But this is only the first season. There's much more to come to it, and I'm looking forward to it. I give the show 2 thumbs up, and I also give it 3 elves out of 1 billion humans. Okay.
Okay.